everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Martina, and I will be the moderator of this webinar on behalf of the Master's Program Selection Platform, MiM Masters. Our topic today is IESE Masters in Management Career Impact. We are promising a very insightful session, so please stay till the end with us. And please welcome our host today, Carlos Hamela, who is an Associate Director, and two of Masters in Management alumni, Alvaro and Maria. They are graduating from Masters in Management program at 2022, and they will share with us more about their experience and how the program helped them in their career. Your questions are more than welcome, so please type them in the Q&A or in the chat box, wherever you prefer, during the whole session, and Carlos will take time to give you an answer at the end of this discussion. This webinar is recorded, so you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording next week. Thank you so much for joining us, and now I'm giving the floor to Carlos.
Thank you very much, Martina. Thank you also for having us, and good afternoon, everybody. As Martina said, I am an associate director in IESE, and I work in the careers department. So what my department does in IESE Business School is specifically for the Masters in Management, which is a program for people that have 0 to 2 years of work experience, and I would say average age of 23 years. My department, what we do is two things. We basically bring companies to campus so that they can recruit, and the other part is training and working with the students to help them achieve their career goals, regardless of what company, what function, and what geography they want to work for. With us today, we have Alvaro Muñoz and Maria Janet. They are both from last year's MiM, so they've been out in the world as fully grown adults for almost a year now. And Alvaro is working in the consumer goods, kind of like retail sector that he's going to explain, and the same for Maria. I'm going to let them explain, okay, but they're going to tell us specifically what and how the MiM did for them. Okay, hopefully more than just in terms of careers, but I'm going to tell them. So we're going to ask them a few questions, after which I'm going to open the floor to you guys so you can ask questions. And your questions, you can ask them in the Q&A, not the chat. Please focus on the Q&A because I'm just going to be opening that one. Cool. So Alvaro, Maria, thank you so much for being here with us today. My first question is, please tell us where you're currently based and what you're doing and at what company, so that we get a little bit of context of each of you. Let's start with Maria.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Maria and I'm originally from Spain and I'm currently living in Prague. I'm working in AB InBev, which is the biggest brewery in the world. So you guys might know some of the brands, you know, Coronita, Stella Artois, all these brands. And I'm actually doing a graduate program. So it's called the Fast Track Leadership Program, and it entails of a 1-year program with 2 different rotations in 2 very different departments. My first rotation was in customer experience in France, like for the French market, I mean, and the second one, I'm in international logistics, working for materials.
Cool. Thank you very much, Maria. Alvaro, you have the floor.
Thanks, Carlos. Hi, everyone. I'm Alvaro. I'm also from Spain. I'm now based in Zurich, in Switzerland, as I'm working for Restaurant Brands International, which is an American company that owns 4 different brands in the quick service restaurant industry. So you might have not known the company itself, but you might for sure know brands such as Burger King, Popeyes, Tim Hortons, or Firehouse Subs, that are the 4 brands that we own. And similar as Maria, I'm also doing a graduate program, which is called the Leadership Development Program. And here is based on 2 rotations of 1 year each. So I'm now in my first year rotation, and I'm currently doing business intelligence for Tim Hortons. That is one of the brands in the company. And I'm not expected to rotate among countries, but I will for sure be rotating different departments beginning of October.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So let's start with you, Alvaro. You decided to do a MIM. Okay, you got accepted into the IESE MiM, which is a very rigorous program. Okay, and what kind of impact were you expecting the program, the MIM, to have on you, the IESE MiM specifically, on your life, and what was the result?
Sure. So yeah, getting accepted at IESE was for sure one of my happiest moments, because as a Spanish, I know what IESE stands for and all the recognition and of the university itself. So my expectations to be fair were very high, but I can for sure say that I surpassed them. So getting into IESE means getting to know a lot of international people who are very ambitious, who are very bright, who come from top business schools. So you get to learn not only from the excellence professors that the university has, but also one of the main sources of learning for me was my colleagues, right? Because they are, as I said, they are top students that are joining you in this program. So that's one of the main takeaways for sure that I would take. And at the end of the day, you are gonna call them friends, right? So it's not only you're gonna live 24 hours with them almost. So it's an intense experience, but that for sure will mark you in the future. Also, I went to IESE because I wanted to grow as a person, to learn more, to take advantage of the case method that IESE teaches, and to the end goal was also to be able to access the work world with one of my dream jobs, and to discover which one was that, right? So I have to say that after IESE, I can say that I fully reach all my targets, that I'm now where I would say I would like to be probably 1 year ago. So I'm more than happy with my overall experience at IESE.
That's great. That's great. What about you, Maria?
So for me, the primary reason why I chose IESE actually was because of the values that it has. So we know a lot of universities offer the MIM, but really for me, what made the difference was what IESE stands for. And I think it's really important when you make that decision, right? So like Alvaro was saying, it's who you interact with, your colleagues, your professors. It's important that you feel like you're part of that community. And really the values is what I stood for. And honestly, I came from a social sciences background. So I studied international development before in my undergraduate. And really what I was looking for from IESE was also to get that boost for my career, right? So IESE exposes you to a lot of different fields, a lot of different things that I had never experienced before, whether it's either through networking, the people that you meet, or just in the class, you have the case method. So you learn a lot of things and you're exposed to a lot of things in a very short period of time. And that's really what I was looking for a boost in my career. And I think IESE gave me that, both in the terms of the career, but also with the values that it has. So personally as well.
That's great. And that ties in kind of nicely with my next question, which is, if you didn't know what you wanted to do beforehand, and so before coming to the MIM, if you didn't know what you wanted to do after the MIM, how did the MIM help you? So given that you've already answered that, Alvaro, how did you know what you wanted to do after the MIM? And if not, how did the MIM help you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because at least in my perspective, I had no idea which type of company I probably would like to work, or even which industry. So I would say, a bit lost at the beginning. And I think it's the case for most of the people. There are some people, of course, that already know, but most of the people, they are a bit lost in this sense. At IESE provides you a wide range of possibilities to help you understand what could be your end goal, right? So from the beginning, I know that they provide me with coaches that they will be coaching me along the way. So I would be having one-on-one sessions with them to understand what my North Star was, to work on possible companies that would fit me, because at the end of the day, it's you who need to kind of also target the companies, right? It's you who are going to be working for them. So you need to choose the companies that you think you align with their values, that you align with their culture. And in order to do so, you need some work to do, right? So yes, it helps you providing these tools that are very, very, very valuable. And on top of that, you have people like Carlos, or people in the career development service, that are also always there for you, are always ready to help. You're always to provide you with, I don't know, all kind of information or contacts that are gonna help you decide. But it's always at the end, it's always gonna be you. IESE is just a tool that they are gonna provide you a lot of help, but at the end of the day, it's just gonna be you, the one who has to put the effort and the one who has to decide where you wanna go for.
Awesome. I'm glad you clarified it, that in the end, we don't get jobs for our students. No business school does that. In the end, the school, the student needs to put in the work. We can only show them doors, but the student is the one that has to unlock it, walk through it, and etc. Okay. Thank you for that. So to the both of you, starting with Maria, so what, given that you undertook, if I remember correctly, you were the one that was most open to things as long as they interested you in terms of sectors. I remember you were looking at consulting, then you found this AB InBev thing, and then you were looking at healthcare stuff. I think that was your case. My question is, when you decided more or less what to target, what were some of the major roadblocks? What were some of the major obstacles that you had to get past in order to achieve your goal?
Oof, okay, that's a good question. So indeed, I did consider a lot of things. Like Alvaro, I was quite lost at the beginning, so I was just kind of looking for anything and everywhere. And I admit that this in itself was a roadblock, I have to admit, because you end up stretching your energy very thin. Yeah. Afterwards, for example, one thing, so when I decided not to go into consulting, for example, because it just wasn't the fit for me, I noticed from the very beginning, I chose to go into FMCG, right? And for me, something that stressed me out a little bit more was the timelines of FMCG companies, because they do it a lot later. So it was, you know, coming in to apply for FMCG companies, which the process is actually really intense. So you have to do a lot of tests. There's a lot of interviews. They're very long as well. And this has to be combined with the additional workload as you progress throughout the MiM. You also have, you know, your final year project. So having to combine all of these things together, but also make sure that you're doing all of your things correctly, was quite tough. And also at the end of the day, I think FMCGs, there's only so many that are known, right? Like even ABI, the brands in themselves, they're super, super known, but nobody knows what ABI is. So you have to really dig in and do your research very well, because if not, you end up just finding a couple of companies, sorry, compared to, you know, consulting, that is a much more common industry to go into. So you know much faster what it is you're targeting. So I would say like the time constraint in a way, and the workload, the pressure that you have on the process to achieve like this company, this job, this industry.
Very interesting. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard that background echo. It just happened out of nowhere, but I guess it was my computer and I just fixed it. So I'm really sorry. But yeah, thank you for your response, Maria. It makes a lot of sense that the main roadblock is academics. In the end, when you join a master's, it's supposed to be very rigorous, because what we do is we're training you to help you get into the real world, because in the real world, the problems that you face are bigger and more in quantity compared to a master's, right? Like you cannot put things on hold in the real world. Okay, like grandpa, please don't get sick. I'm gonna go have an investment banking career, make a lot of money, and then I'm gonna come back for you. Stay healthy, I'll be right back. Like that doesn't happen in the real world. So managing all those emotions, managing all those to-dos, I mean, it's really what we're trying to train the students to do, you know, to become fully independent, fully healthy decision-making adults. Okay, so thank you, Maria. And my next question is, so what skills, in your case, Alvaro, what skills did you realize that you needed in order to pursue a career in RBI? What is something that you said, like, I need this, and how did the MiM help you with this?
Yeah, so definitely you need a lot of skills and a lot of hard work to get into these competitive programs that Maria and I, we, for instance, got in, because there are like international companies, a lot of people that want to get in, a lot of applications. So you need definitely first is hard work. You need to do a lot of research. You need to really get to understand what the company is, what they do, what can you expect. So you need to put a lot of hours on doing the research of the company, and on top of that to know if that you think you're going to fit in that, right? Because by you being a fit with the company, it will for sure make you be more passionate about what you are going to work for, and you can kind of demonstrate that in the interviews, right? So the research for me would be the first step. On top of that, you need to put as well preparation for interviews, because this process usually take months. So you have, in my case, I had 5 different rounds, where each round you really need to be prepared for, because they are gonna answer, I ask different things, you're gonna be in different simulations, you're gonna be doing different things. So you really need to be prepared. You need to as well talk to people, network beforehand, so you kind of know what to expect, you kind of know who the people that you're gonna work with potentially are. So you try to create a path like smoothly for you to access to this process, to keep advancing in the interviews, right? So I think this interviewing preparation and the research would be the top 2 skills that I did not know before that I needed that much, and that IESE really helps you to get them, right? I remember doing a lot of mock interviews with Carlos until my answers were completely almost perfect, having all the necessary points to give up a good answer, right? So I had no idea before that you really need that much preparation. And I think IESE and people like Carlos are fantastic opportunity for you guys to in order to learn these things. So yeah, that would be my
Nice.
main.
That means a lot. That means a lot. I appreciate Alvaro. So people listening, Alvaro had a very interesting case. He was, I would say, hiking in Patagonia, which is the mountains in Argentina. And he was being invited to these final rounds. Well, he was in Patagonia, but he didn't know he was being invited because he didn't have internet in the mountains. So every now and then from the mountains, he had to go down, purchase 30 minutes of internet, check his LinkedIn, check his email, check his WhatsApps, and then continue with his day. So in those little windows, we would talk, we would see, how can I prepare? I have this, I have that. Then he would send emails to the company. And then Alvaro, I mean, your story it should be a movie. It should be a movie. It was really fun. It was really fun. All right, cool. Thank you for that. So my next question is, Maria, I want to ask you the same question, because of the few people that I saw that were very proactive with their own job search, okay, you were the one that I thought was most open to many things. And having done this job for a while, I knew that you could get whatever job you wanted. I just knew it. I mean, all we had to do was put you in front of a company, or all you had to do was to put yourself in front of a company, and you would get the job. I knew that. So you had a specific understanding of the different ways that you would have prepared for these different options that you have. So for this Anheuser-Busch AB InBev company in which you work now, what skills did you realize that you needed, and how did the MiM help you?
So for this particular job, the process was quite long. So because it's a graduate program, it's similar to Alvaro, like there's a lot of steps that you have to take. One of the things that I really took advantage of from the MiM was the materials that we have. Because, for example, like one of the first steps was a psychometric test. And to pass those, you really need to prepare. Like, yes, they're testing, who you are naturally, but you can prepare for these things. And honestly, it's something that unless you invest the time and you have the material available for you, it's really, really hard to do it. And the other part was the interviews, definitely doing interview process, mock tests, everything, like mock interviews with Carlos, with classmates and everything, so they can try and trick you with some questions that you could potentially get asked. And one of the parts for my process was like a business case. And honestly, if I hadn't attended IESE, I don't think I would have been able to do it, because it was something that I personally had never been exposed to before. So anything to do with marketing, how do you price an item? How would you I don't know, how would you do any work around this beer? A lot of the questions, a lot of the ways that you had to work with a team, I was able to know how to do it because I was studying at IESE. You know, we not only do a lot of case studies, but we also work in a team on a regular basis. So being able to manage that, how do you manage someone who isn't doing enough or who's working, like doing too much? But, you know, you have to be able to manage these things. And I really got those skills from IESE. So that, yeah, that's really for me.
That's so cool to hear. That's really refreshing. As an MBA graduate from IESE myself, I can completely attest to the fact that the education is top. I mean, it's top notch for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Actually, this year our MBA ranked number 3 in the world, so that's a reason to celebrate. That's a reason to celebrate. Okay. Next question I want to ask is, so you surpassed both of you surpassed a lot of challenges getting to the MiM, the admissions process, everything. You know, you survived the MiM, okay, and now you're a fully functioning professional, okay. So there was a transition at some point from being a student to your current life, okay. So what can you say have been some of the most, let's say, challenging challenges, so to speak, when starting your new jobs? And how did you use the prior education that you received at IESE for everything, for careers, from academics? How did you use that to help you transition into your new role? I'm going to start with Maria.
Okay. So for me, so firstly, I had to change country, right? So for me, the first few months was a big challenge because I had to adapt. I don't speak the language over here, so it was a big thing. But one of the things, for example, is the pressure. So as you were saying, Carlos, you know, real life, you can't move timelines that easily. You can't tell someone, please wait. You know, having a boss means that they tell you, you need to do this and you need to do it. And I remember when we were in IESE, you know, we would have our schedules. They would tell us, oh, okay, you know, you have this exam coming up, you have this essay that you have to submit in the next couple of weeks. So mentally you can prepare, you know, you can manage your time. But I remember a couple of times that we were told, please do this for the day after. And everyone was like, oh my God, how can we do this? This is super challenging. And now that I'm actually in my day-to-day life, it's actually what we need to do. You know, your boss can come up to you and say, I need this done for tomorrow. You can't tell your boss, oh no, please, I need more time, give me 2 weeks, just because the business doesn't allow it. So I think that one of the main things that I had to realize is that, you know, IESE really teaches you, puts you the pressure. Yes, it's a short time frame, but you need to know how to work under pressure with a lot of different things on your mind, so that when you come to the real world and have a boss or have colleagues, you're able to deliver on time and, you know, with a good quality of work.
Wow, that was super insightful. Super insightful. That's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, it goes back to saying that, I mean, I see it from the inside, right? Like, we have to overwhelm them. We have to drown these students so that they can later go out in the world and they're ready for any challenge. And I'm glad that you're saying that there's some merits to this. There's some benefits to this. So it makes me feel less bad about what we do to the students when they come to IESE. Alvaro, what about you? What do you have to say, man?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Maria and you were just saying. I think one of the best jobs that IESE do is to prepare you to the real world, right? Because I also had to move countries, but that, even though I don't speak the language either, I don't see it as a big disadvantage, because in IESE I already had this big cultural exchange. So I already know, of course, every person is different, but I already know what is it to deal with different personalities, with different cultures, with doing teamwork with people from around the world, right? So this is something that IESE already teaches you from the very beginning, and that is something very important, because at the end of the day, if you are in an international company, you're going to be working with people from everywhere. Also, this goes very much related with the teamwork. So IESE puts a lot of focus on teamwork. Actually, in our case, we had the same team for the whole year, which it might sound a bit like intense, and it is, but actually it's extremely good for you to learn to gain a lot on how to deal with people, on how to get feedback, how to give feedback, how to improve, how to everything, right? Teamwork is key in the work life, and yes, it really wants you to understand it from the beginning. And lastly, I can't agree more with what Maria said on the pressure, on the getting things done for tomorrow. This is something that in your company will happen a lot of times. And I felt that when I left my university, I was not ready to probably enter the work world like I was. But then after IESE, having to do so many things for the next day, and so many projects that you thought, oh, I'm not gonna even be able to finish them. But it's not true. You just need to be consistent, and it's something that you are gonna learn throughout the program, right? So I think these are the 3 points that I would put my emphasis on, that I think that IESE does a very good job.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's really cool. Thank you guys very much. Okay, I'm done with my questions, so I'm gonna open it up to a Q&A. So we got a few questions. The first one is from Amanawit Atire, and the question is, was the MIM as rigorous as you guys expected? So whoever wants to go for that one.
I can go for that one. Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, at the end, what it goes related to the first point that I said of the people and the professors, right? So you're gonna be dealing with people that are already top in their classes, in their universities. So you're gonna be dealing with very good people who are gonna put the standards very high. So it's gonna be, everything will have to be very top quality. You will always have to put, or to give the best out of yourself. And at the end of the day, this will make everything to be, as in this case you're saying, rigorous. Everything will have to be almost not excellent, but very, very, very good. So I think that, yeah, it even, as I said, it even surpassed my expectations, and even more coming from Spain and knowing what IESE is and the good reputation that it has. I think it for sure surpassed the expectation, and it's a very rigorous program. Yeah, no doubt.
How about you, Maria? Do you have something to add?
Yes, for me, it was definitely an intense program, I have to say. I already knew it was going to be like this. So, you know, it's common knowledge that ES is intense. But for me, especially because I was coming from a social science background, so a lot of the subjects that we were doing, especially like finance, numerical subjects, I had never done before. So I also had to adapt to that, the workload, the actual content of the subjects that we were doing. But it was really, really worth it at the end of the day.
Cool, cool. So we have another question that is divided into 3. So it's a 3-part question. So I'm going to start with the beginning. Can you guys share your experience in the admissions process? Whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, I can take it. So the admissions to IESE, I remember it was generic application, you know, that you do online. You had to prepare some questions, and it was like an essay part asking you about your personal life, like career, what it was that you wanted to achieve. Also thinking that this is when you're very young, right? Like it's hard to answer some of these questions, but I think what they're looking for is to see how you think, what your ambitions are in general. Then we had an interview, and this one was, you know, again, asking you different questions about your personal life and who you are and what it is that you're trying to get out of the MIM. And then there is the test. So in my case, I did the GMAT. So it required a lot of preparation because the GMAT obviously is something that you really need to prepare for. You can't wing it, let's say. So the biggest chunk of the process for me was the GMAT aspect. And then once you submit that, if the grade is good enough for IESE and your application in a holistic way is good, then you're in. But I do know some people did an IESE test, but I don't have experience in that, so I can't tell you about that.
Okay, cool. Was it similar for you, Alvaro?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I also had to do the GMAT, so I also can't help you guys with the IESE test. But yeah, I remember the interview was also very personal. Like a bit of what can you expect also with an interview with the company. Sometimes they just want to know who you are, what are your ambitions, if you know IESE, if you are passionate about what you're doing, if you really want to get into IESE, right? So I remember the process being demanding, but also, you have to be prepared to get into a university, like a program like the MiM in IESE. So yeah, and also I think you are asking by different interesting subjects during the program, and so yeah, you will have a lot of different subjects from, I remember doing data analytics, marketing, going to finance. So this is of course very personal depending on what you like, but in my case I really enjoyed doing, I remember, mergers and acquisitions with Nuno Fernandez. So yeah, but this is a personal view of what was my favorite subject, if that helps.
Okay, cool. The next part of the question is, which was your most interesting subject during the program?
Well, I'm going to answer that now since Alvaro has just answered. So for me, like Alvaro said, it is a very personal decision at the end of the day. I would say I'm torn between two. So I really liked capital markets, for example. It was a very tough class, especially because we had it right at the beginning for us, like the first part of it. And like I said, I had never studied this, so it was a bit overwhelming, but I really liked the professor and I thought it was a really interesting subject. Like it touches on a lot of different points, in the global aspect, in a global way, which for me was really interesting. But I also really liked organizational behavior. So it was something more on the people aspect of things. And for me, that's really interesting because I think sometimes we forget, that a master's in management isn't just about finance and banking and marketing, but a big part of companies and our society is people. So learning how people interact, how can you make sure that a company is doing well from the people aspect? I found that really, really interesting, to be honest. So I think that one was my favorite.
Very cool, very cool. Alvaro, what was your favorite subject?
Yeah, it's a bit what I was saying before, right? That it's a bit that it could be very personal. In my case, as I was saying, so in the last period of IESE, they allow you to choose a track, which is something very nice because then you kind of experience the subject that you probably are more interested into or that you want to learn the more. And in my case, as I said, I had one subject that was mergers and acquisitions, and it was really fun because you really got to do real projects or real evaluations of companies in order to get the deals as if it would be happening in real life, right? But yeah, you have a lot of amazing subjects that you will enjoy throughout the program.
Cool. And then does IESE's career services advise students after graduation? I can tell you, yes. I mean, we help students until they get the first job. Okay. Then we got a few statements from Salem Bousaid, but he didn't finish his question apparently. So Salem, if you want to finish your question, I'd be happy to answer. Mercedes is asking, what advice would you give to someone who is considering doing the same master's program? Any tips for the MIM interview and admissions process? And do you feel that IESE's MIM has made it easier for you to work internationally? So advice for the admissions and having an international career.
Okay, I can start. In terms of advice for the admissions, I would say prepare. Honestly, I know it sounds very generic, but you need to prepare. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to be ready for the questions they're going to ask you. You need to know IESE and why you want to go there. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of MIMs out there, but you have to know what about IESE you like and what is driving you to go there. Then in terms of the international career, yes, I mean, so both Alvaro and I stayed in Europe, but we both left Spain. We know some people who've left Europe altogether. So, but in our case, yes, I mean, at the end of the day, IESE is preparing you to become a top candidate for any company. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to leave Spain or not and what kind of company you want to apply for. In our cases, we're working in multinationals, but you can also choose to work in a smaller boutique company also outside. But IESE's Career Center like really caters for everyone. They tailor their advice to what you are looking for, which is what I think the best part of it. You know, it's not all just the same for everyone. They really help you find what works for you and where you want to go.
Cool, fantastic. All right, another question that we have is, so how has IESE enabled you to pursue a global career? So you guys already answered this throughout the session. Okay. So Laura is asking, is there something specific you're looking for from a candidate? You mean to the MiM, Laura? So I can answer that. So look, number one, we want this person to be aligned with the values of the school. Okay, we try our best to not bring in very arrogant people, so to speak, or people that are lacking manners, or people whose values are let's say somebody that expects IESE to do things for them, like, hey, I'm paying all this money, I expect you to get me a job. We don't go with that. We go with people who value doing things on their own, who value understanding that the things in life, you have to earn them. So we value hard work. Okay, that's when it comes to the soft part, you know, the non-measurable part. When it comes to the measurable part, we're looking for the top grades. If you went to a very good university, that helps. Extracurricular activities help, and a very, very, very good English. Okay, so what does top grades mean? Let's say for Spain, depending on the career, so if you're an engineer, I would say and it depends on the school. If you come from a very top engineering school like ICAI or the Polytechnic University of Madrid or Catalonia, a 6 is okay, a 6 out of 10, as long as you finish a degree in the 4 years of the degree, or however long the degree was. For other careers, I think depending on the school, if it's a top school, a 7 onwards. And if the school is not that top, we're looking for a minimum of 8. For Italy, for example, the same principle applies, but basically 27 and above. For France, 14 and above. For Germany, ideally no higher than 2. Okay. The UK, second class honors and above. So we're looking for top talent, basically. Okay. Then I'm going to read Fayez. So Fayez just started working at Deloitte in Bangladesh, and he plans to pursue a MiM in the August 2024. The motivation is that he wants to break into the consulting industry in Europe. Do you think students who come from a non-EU or non-native English-speaking background have any inherent disadvantage when it comes to placements after MiM in terms of consulting and in general? So Fayez, I can answer that. Okay. When it comes to the world of consulting, the offices of the countries are looking for 2 things. They're looking for a native understanding of the local language. Okay, so if you want Germany, you must speak German like a native. Okay, and a cultural understanding of the local culture. So you must have lived in the country for at least, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. So people that usually study in the UK, in top schools in the UK, they can go for consulting in the UK, like London, etc. Okay. Having said that, so offices from different consultancies prefer locals, you know. Having said that, there are some exceptions. So I know that the Amsterdam offices, because Amsterdam, Netherlands, everybody speaks English, and they value diversity a lot. They don't really care where you're from, but it's extremely competitive. Okay, it's really hard to get an interview for Amsterdam. And then the other exception is the Middle East. So Qatar, Doha, Doha, the same, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, they are very open to internationals. In fact, those countries, most of the corporate sectors are built by internationals, by expats and stuff. And all you need is English. So whenever we get foreigners coming to IESE wanting to leave their home country and go into consulting, those 2 options are the most common ones. Okay. For consulting, in terms of general, that's another conversation. I mean, for finance, for example, there wouldn't be an issue, but for everything else, there is an issue. Laura Garcia, what actually makes a standout application from your professional point of view? So the application is basically 3 essays and 1 optional essay. And I think you have the option to apply for a scholarship and you do an essay. For the scholarship, the essay works, but what really we take into account is a GMAT. Any GMAT of 700 and above is good. Below, I don't think people get scholarships, but it depends. Okay. Now, your standout application, the standout, how you stand out in the process is basically answering a very good essay. Structured, organized, very clearly. You answer the question. You'll be surprised by how many people don't answer the question. They just go around the point. And very good English, because this program is in English. And the recruitment processes, most of them are in English. Okay, unless you're applying to a small place in Spain or France. It depends on the country that you're applying to, right? Italy, they might do it in the local language, but the bigger the company, the more likely it is that you'll be interviewed in English. The biggest determinant, I would say, assuming that you meet all the requirements, you have a good grade, you have a good GMAT, you have everything, assuming that you meet all the requirements, the biggest determinant is your performance in the interview for admissions. The interview is where we gather all the data that we need to understand what kind of person you are, what you can contribute to the place and to the program, and whether you'll be able to withstand the program. Okay. There's 3 things that the admissions process seeks to respond for any school, not only IESE, for any school. Number 1, 4 things. Number 1, can you withstand the program? Will you thrive in the program? Will you survive? Okay. Number 2, can you pay for the program if you don't get a scholarship? Okay. Number 3, what are your employment prospects for after the program? Can we really help you? Is IESE the best choice for you or not? Because we don't want to be an obstacle in people's lives. We really want to make a difference. And if we know that we can help you, then we either set your expectations and say, hey, you've been admitted, but know that your career ambitions, you might have to change them. Okay. Or you could go to another school that actually focuses on that. So for example, if you come from a non-top UK school and your grades are not that, if you come from a non-top UK school or English is not your native language and you want investment banking in the UK, but you can get into a master's in finance in the UK, we would advise you to do that, because then the MiM cannot help you. So we're very honest. Okay. And the last thing is, the 4th thing is, will this person, after they graduate, will they be a good alumni? That's basically it. Will they represent us well? So that's what we're looking for. Right. Mercedes is asking, she studied pharmacy. Do you think that the subjects are easy to handle for a profile that has not studied economics, marketing? No, they're not, Mercedes. They're not easy. That's why we do tests before, and we focus on the math part. We care more about the math part of any test, the GMAT, the GRE, or the IESE test, whichever one you decide to take, more than the verbal part. The verbal part, we see it in your essays, we see it in the interview, how you talk, etc. But this is a very numbers-heavy program. So we've had pharmacists before, many, and they go into consulting, they go into banking. There's a girl that is in sales, and she's like the #1 in her company, in Procter & Gamble. She's thriving. It all depends on the person. And so if you struggle with numbers, then you have to either get good or apply, but you might get rejected. Numbers is key. All right. Then Angraini Larasati asked, can you explain how much the quota is for international students such as Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. per round to apply for MiM master? Belen, are you there? I don't think we have quotas. I think we're open. We don't have quotas at the MiM, don't we, Belen?
Yeah, we don't. We are open to open process. So yeah,
Angraini, apply away, man. Or girl, I don't know. I don't know your name.
go for it.
Or both. So apply. All right. I think those are all the questions that we have so far. Anybody else wants to ask another question? take advantage of the fact that they're here. So there's another one. It says, could I have a free scholarship for pharmacy master? A pharmacy master? What do you mean? Like a master's in pharmacy? Like, I don't understand your question. Could you have a free scholarship for a master's in, well, I don't know. I don't understand your question, but what I understand is that, do we offer a master's in pharmacy in IESE? We don't offer that kind of master's. We only do management. Okay, so I don't know if I've answered your question, Afnan. In pharmacology science, so wait, you're saying that you have a master's in pharmacology science and you want a scholarship for IESE? Can you elaborate? While you type your question, I'm going to answer another one. So it says, if I have taken GMAT more than once after getting a poor score at first, do you look at it negatively? No, because we understand that people don't necessarily have time to prepare for the GMAT, don't necessarily understand the GMAT the first time they take it. And the GMAT is it's a world in and of itself. So we look at improvement very positively. So if you get a better grade later, we don't care how you did before. It doesn't matter. Okay. This is a question for the students, for the alumni, sorry. How was your experience in New York as part of the curriculum during your stay at IESE? Did you guys go to the New York module? You didn't? Did you, Alvaro?
Yeah, I did.
How did it go?
It was amazing, to be fair. I really liked it. It was, in our time, it was 1 week. It was very intense week because we had a lot of, we had classes there in New York with new professors, new materials, new super interesting topics, super interesting. And then in the afternoons, we had company visits. We went also we did activities with the classmates, like we did I remember going also to the theater, to musicals. We even did a cruise in the river. But yeah, overall, I remember a super good experience. Classes were amazing. Being there with your friends for a week in New York was like a dream. So to be fair, is one of the best things also that we did in the program. And I don't think you have the chance to do that in a lot of universities. So yeah, it was very good experience.
Nice. I hope that answers your question. Manawit. And then Afnan says, okay, I have a bachelor in pharmacy science. Could I have a free scholarship in my study? You mean you want a scholarship from IESE just because you studied pharmacy science? Like you want an 100% scholarship because you studied pharmacy science? I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Okay, who do you want a scholarship from? And is it because you studied pharmacy? All right, Kermani is asking, she's from Algeria. I have a master's degree in speech and language therapy. Can I apply for a management master? Of course, anybody can apply. Anybody. The whole reason, what you need to have clear is why. Why do you want this master's? Like, and how can IESE help you there? You'll be able to do this, to explain this in the essays and in the interview, but anybody can apply. As somebody that has a speech and language therapy master's, you might want to know how to start a business to do this, to offer this. So a master's in management makes sense. That totally makes sense. It just depends on your goals, on your career goals. But that's a great question. Yeah, anybody can do a master's as long as you meet the requirements, at least for us. Okay. All right, we got 8 minutes left. Any other questions? Feel free to ask away. I'm looking at the chat. There are no questions on the chat, only in the Q&A, which is good. Ask away. Remember, I know the world of careers. You have 2 alumni that have been through everything. I know admissions too, because I've done admissions before. So it says for alumni. Oh, so there's a question to you guys. Could you please share the tips or tricks for us to prepare, since we're all still students doing bachelor's degrees? Then if our campus full English is still needed to upload the IELTS. So look, if your program is fully in English, you don't need an English exam. Okay, like the TOEFL or the IELTS. It's up to you to take a TOEFL or IELTS to let us understand what kind of English level you have, but you don't have to you don't have to. Okay. So for you guys, Alvaro, Maria, what advice do you have to help them prepare for the admissions program, for the admissions part? I think you answered this before, what advice you have, but there was this, I don't know if this was for admission specifically, I just don't remember. So if you could just answer this again, that would be great. Anybody can go. Any of you two can take that question.
Yeah, I answered it vaguely before, but for me, it was mainly the preparation. So, like Carlos was saying, the biggest part of the admissions at the end of the day is your interview. And so preparing for the interview is really, really important, right? So do mock interviews with your friends. If your university offers you a career service center, use them and, speak to them and tell them what it is that you're trying to get into, because you don't know what you're going to get asked. So it can either be a personal question or it can be more technical. But
Maria,
fundamentally, yes.
can I interrupt you? I think they meant for admissions, for the admissions process.
For
What
the
tips and
Yes.
advice do you have to prepare for the admissions process for IESE instead of the getting a job once you're in IESE?
Yes. No, but this is also for IESE. Like,
okay.
I will still prepare everything. Make sure that like you do the prep interviews with anyone, because interviews are quite daunting, especially if English is not your first language. You don't know what you're going to get asked, but understand what IESE stands for, and you're ready to answer that. But yes, obviously this applies to any interview process that you ever have to go to, whether it's a job or a university. Just prepare, and prepare.
So what do you mean by prepare?
So for me, it's this. I mean, get your friends to do mock interviews with you. Give them a list of questions you can look up online. Most common asked questions on an interview for university or for a master's in management. Perfect. And have them question you all the time, and just feel that pressure a little bit, right? It's not the same as having a conversation. Feel that pressure a little bit. That's what I would do.
Perfect. So I want to add to that, because I wanted to focus specifically on the preparation part. Look, guys, before my MBA, before my current role, I was in sales. And what we learned is that preparation is 70% of the sale. Okay, so if you don't prepare, you're not even gonna, it's gonna show. Okay, so preparation, as besides what Maria said, I would research a school, because like we said, we're looking for fit. Okay, what is IESE's mission? What are our values? Okay, what do you expect to do with an IESE education in the world? Like, how are you going to represent us as an alumni? Okay, so that's what I wanted to add. And we have one last question, because I don't know if we're going to have more time for more questions after this. So this goes for any of you, Maria or Alvaro. Someone is asking, I'm sure you consider other schools besides IESE's MiM. Why did you go for IESE?
I can give 3 brief reasons, so also Maria can give hers. For me, to be fair, it was number 1, the values that IESE has, the values that they stand for. Number 2, it's the reputation. So as Carlos said before, IESE has already been ranked top 3 in the world. So it's something that is, it's going to be very good to study there, right? And number 3 also, okay, for me, being from Spain was also a good point, but being located in Madrid, the MiM, it was also vital, because Madrid is such an amazing city where you will meet a lot of international people. So being located in that city, I think it also helps for such a good and international program.
Cool. What about you, Maria? Yeah,
for me, definitely the first point is the values. I think it's something that pushed me the most to go to IESE. I would say how international it is. I think our class was not that big, but it was super, super international. And to me, that was really valuable, because I was looking to go abroad, and it's important to know how to interact with people from different countries and different cultures. And IESE really gave me that. It being in Spain, I think, was good. I mean, I'd never lived in Madrid before, and honestly, incredible city. Like, really, really, the campus is beautiful. But yeah, I mean, the reputation that it has in Spain, I know people who've been to IESE before. The experience was incredible. I think that says a lot, right? It's important that the image that it has is also good. So I knew it was going to be, I knew it was going to be a good fit for me.
Fantastic. All right, we have 2 minutes left. I think maybe one more question. If not, we're gonna call it a day here. 1 minute left. All right, we're just looking at the chat. All right, so guys, I want to start by thanking you, Alvaro and Maria, for your time. I know that you're in between meetings right now. If you need to log out, please go ahead, okay? Thank you. It's been great to see you and to catch up. I hope that you're thriving. I know that you're thriving, and please remember that I'm here for you, okay? I want to thank Unimi for this opportunity to host this panel. Thank you for coordinating and for everything, and we're excited to know and to hope that we at least have some impact in the listeners today. And to all the listeners that attended, we appreciate it. I hope you have a great afternoon. Reach out to IESE admissions for the MIM for any questions. Okay, you don't need to apply to get answers. Okay, you can just ask questions, send emails, etc. We do get back to you. Okay, so any question, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Okay, you ask them. Okay, that's just a general advice for life. If you want to know something, you ask. All right, guys, have a great afternoon. Take it easy, and bless you all.